Hey everyone, we're back today talking about alcohol again. But this time, I want to talk about how to identify if you're drinking a little too much and some tips on how to drink less. Some people can drink alcohol without suffering any significant side effects or consequences. But for some individuals, unhealthy drinking habits can cause real problems. So the question is how do you know if drinking has become a problem for you? Alcohol use disorder, or AUD, is the term used by medical and mental health professionals when diagnosing alcohol-related conditions. This classification includes both instances of alcohol abuse, such as binge drinking, and alcohol dependency, or alcoholism. The criteria used to define whether someone has an alcohol use disorder are listed in the latest version of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders. I know that's a mouthful, so we just say DSM-5, but it's used by mental health professionals to guide them in making their diagnosis. The DSM criteria for identifying alcohol use disorder takes a look at a person's attitude and actions regarding alcohol over the previous 12 months. Many of these questions are designed to determine how much control someone has over their drinking habits and whether their drinking is damaging their relationships or their work performance. Some examples are whether the individual has had situations when just one drink turned into a night of drinking, whether the person has continued drinking even when it causes problems with their family or friends, and whether they have stopped doing other activities that they used to enjoy. For a full list of the criteria or to take the test yourself, click the link above. As you can imagine, the more of these types of symptoms a person has, the more problems alcohol is starting to cause in their lives. A problem with alcohol can cause long-term physical, mental, social, and emotional damage. You don't have to have a chronic problem with alcohol for it to be a problem for you. When researchers looked at the cost of excessive alcohol drinking, they found that over 3/4 of those costs were due to binge drinking. That's drinking more than 4 servings during a short interval for women and 5 servings for men. Now let's talk about breath alcohol tests, those devices you breathe into to see if your blood alcohol level is above the legal limit. Those tests determine the level of alcohol in your blood by taking a breath sample to detect alcohol in your breath. And how do they do that? Well, alcohol molecules end up in your breath after they pass through your bloodstream and into your lungs. Using a set formula, the breath test device calculates how much alcohol is in your blood based on how much it's reached your lungs. So even though it's a breath test, it is designed to measure your blood alcohol concentration, or BAC. So if the breath test says that you're above the legal limit, does that mean that you're drunk? For legal purposes, anyone whose BAC measures above the limit is considered to be under the influence or intoxicated. And if your BAC is above the limit that's set by your place of employment's alcohol policy, then it doesn't matter how intoxicated you feel. Now, maybe you're wondering, if I take a breath test and I'm below the legal limit, does that mean I'm sober enough that I can drive? That's where things get a little tricky. Now, we have some ideas of what happens to a person when their BAC is at specific levels, but the effect on each person isn't exactly the same. All right, now let's talk about those levels. Below a BAC level of 0.04%, most people have that feeling of euphoria, but not have impaired judgment. Once your BAC rises above 0.04%, you may begin to behave less cautiously and your judgment and memory may be slightly impaired. Beginning at 0.06%, which is still below the legal limit for driving, you'll start to experience slowed reaction times, impaired vision, and loss of balance. Your judgment, reasoning skills, and self-control might be off too. And by 1% BAC, you're in trouble. Motor skills, peripheral vision, hearing, and reaction time, they'll all suffer. So just remember, even if your BAC is low, that may not be an indication that you're still okay to drive. In fact, you could still be arrested for drunk driving, even if you pass a breath alcohol test if your behavior behind the wheel is erratic or unsafe. So what should you do? When in doubt, wait it out. Or get a ride home. Uber and Lyft these days make it very easy. There's no reason to take any chances here. Okay, now I've shared plenty of ways to identify if you had too much to drink. So let's wrap up with some ideas on how to drink a little less. If you're gonna go out and have a good time and drink, make a plan for yourself. Start off by setting a limit. Tell yourself how much you're gonna drink and stick with it. Be sure that you eat first before consuming alcohol and drink plenty of water. One of the things that I like to do is order soda water with lime. And make sure that you have a plan of how you're gonna get home, either Uber, Lyft, or a friend. And my last bit of advice is to enjoy the company of people that you're with and not about your glass being empty. And if you're not going out and you're the one that's hosting an event, make sure you have some non-alcoholic alternatives. I love keeping all my mocktail ingredients at the bar, not just for convenience, but I also don't want to make anyone feel excluded. Limit the amount that your guests drink. This can easily be done by just doing half shots instead of full shots. And put the alcohol away well before your event is over and people begin to leave. Drinking alcohol can help you relax and enjoy quality time with your friends. Just don't let alcohol call the shots. Choose how much you drink and when. And as always, if you have any ideas on future health topics, please let us know.